Have you ever stared at your phone, wondering why someone who once couldn't go a day without talking to you has suddenly disappeared? No calls, no messages, no explanation. You tell yourself they're probably busy. Then one day turns into a week. A week becomes a month. And suddenly, you're questioning everything. Did you do something wrong? Did they lose interest? Or is there something much deeper happening beneath the silence? Believe it or not, silence speaks louder than words. And today, we're going to uncover the hidden psychology behind why someone stops calling or texting you, and what that silence may actually mean. Some of these reasons will surprise you. Some might completely change the way you see relationships forever. So make sure you stay until the very end, because the final reason is the one most people never realize. Yet it changes everything. Welcome to Psychology on Love, where we uncover the hidden truths about love, attraction, human behavior, and emotional psychology. If you enjoy learning what people rarely say out loud, subscribe now and join thousands of people who want to understand relationships on a deeper level. Now, let's begin. The first thing you need to understand is this. People rarely disappear without a psychological reason. Human behavior is never random. Every action, every delay, every silence communicates something. Sometimes, silence is louder than 1,000 conversations. The biggest mistake people make is assuming silence always means rejection. That's not always true. Sometimes people pull away because they're overwhelmed. Sometimes they're emotionally confused. Sometimes they're protecting themselves. And yes, sometimes they've simply chosen a different path. Psychology teaches us something fascinating. When people experience emotional conflict, many don't communicate. They withdraw. Avoidance feels easier than honesty. Instead of saying, "I'm confused, I'm scared, I don't know what I want," they say nothing, because silence feels safer than difficult conversations. But here's where it gets interesting. Your brain doesn't like uncertainty. When someone disappears, your mind automatically begins creating stories. They don't love me. I'm not enough. I've been replaced. But most of those stories are created by fear, not facts. Our brains are wired to fill in missing information. Unfortunately, fear usually fills those empty spaces first. Now let's talk about emotional investment. In every relationship, whether it's friendship, romance, or family, attention is a form of emotional currency. People naturally invest their attention where they feel emotionally connected. When communication decreases over time, it often reflects a change in emotional priorities. That doesn't automatically mean you aren't valuable. It simply means their focus has shifted. And people change. Life changes. Responsibilities change. Emotions change. The real question isn't, "Why aren't they texting me?" The better question is, "What does their consistent behavior tell me?" Because psychology says behavior always reveals more than promises. Someone can say, "I care about you," but if weeks pass without any effort, their actions are telling a different story. Here's something most people don't realize. Sometimes people stop reaching out because they believe you'll always be there. This is called psychological familiarity. The human mind often takes consistent availability for granted. When someone becomes predictable, appreciation can quietly disappear. It's not always intentional. It's simply how familiarity changes perception. That's why people often value what feels uncertain more than what feels guaranteed. Now, this doesn't mean you should play games or ignore people on purpose. Healthy relationships are built on honesty, not manipulation. But it does mean that maintaining your own life, goals, and identity matters. Confidence is attractive because it signals emotional independence. The next reason is one almost nobody talks about. People sometimes distance themselves because they're fighting battles they haven't shared. Stress, depression, family problems, career pressure, financial struggles. Not everyone processes pain by talking. Some process pain by disappearing. Psychologists call this emotional withdrawal. It isn't always about you. Sometimes it's about what they're trying to survive internally. However, there's an important difference between someone needing temporary space and someone making no effort at all. Healthy people eventually communicate, even if it's just one honest message. Because respect doesn't disappear during difficult times. If weeks or months pass without explanation, the silence itself becomes an answer. Not necessarily the answer you wanted, but an answer nonetheless. Let's talk about attachment styles. Some people have what's called an anxious attachment style. They fear abandonment. When communication slows down, they panic. They overthink. They check their phone constantly. They replay every conversation. They blame themselves. Others have an avoidant attachment style. When emotions become intense, they pull away. Not because they don't care, but because closeness feels overwhelming. Understanding attachment styles helps you stop personalizing every silence. Because not everyone communicates love the same way. Now here's one of the hardest truths you'll ever hear. Interest creates effort. People naturally make time for what matters to them. Not perfectly, not constantly, but consistently. When someone truly values a connection, they usually find small ways to maintain it. A message, a call, a simple check-in. Consistency is one of the clearest signs of emotional investment. Another psychological truth is this. People often chase certainty while destroying mystery. When your entire emotional world depends on one person's attention, they unconsciously feel the pressure. Healthy attraction grows between two complete individuals, not one complete person and one emotionally dependent person. That's why your happiness should never depend entirely on someone else's notifications. Build your own life. Read books, exercise, travel, learn new skills, spend time with people who appreciate you. Ironically, the moment you stop chasing validation, you become more emotionally attractive, not just to others, but to yourself. Now imagine this. Two people stop texting each other. One spends every day checking their phone. The other spends every day building their future. One becomes emotionally exhausted. The other becomes emotionally stronger. Months later, who do you think has truly won? The answer has nothing to do with getting a text back. Real victory is emotional freedom. Because once your peace no longer depends on another person's attention, you become impossible to emotionally control. And that's one of the most powerful psychological transformations anyone can experience. Here's another hidden truth. Sometimes closure never comes. People wait years for explanations they'll never receive. But psychology reminds us that closure isn't always given. Sometimes, closure is created. You stop waiting. You stop chasing. You stop rewriting old conversations in your mind. You accept reality instead of fighting it. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's choosing peace over endless questions. Remember this. Someone's silence doesn't define your worth. Someone's absence doesn't reduce your value. Someone's inability to communicate doesn't make you unlovable. The right people won't leave you wondering where you stand. They'll show you, again and again. Not through perfect words, but through consistent actions. So the next time someone disappears from your life, instead of asking, "Why don't they text me anymore?" ask yourself, "What is this silence teaching me about them and about myself?" Because sometimes losing communication is actually gaining clarity. And clarity is far more valuable than false hope. If this message resonated with you, let us know in the comments. What do you think silence really means in a relationship? Share your experience. Your story might help someone else who is going through the same situation. If you enjoyed this video and want more deep insights into love, attraction, and human psychology, don't forget to like, subscribe to Psychology on Love, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next video. And if you know someone who keeps waiting for a message that never comes, share this video with them. Sometimes one conversation can change someone's entire perspective. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.